Hey, what's up, universe? It's 1:42 a.m. on Wednesday? Nope. Thursday? No. Shoot. Yeah, it has to be Thursday. Thursday, July 6th. Yeah, sorry, I got my days all mixed up, obviously. So there's an inspiration for this journal, and it's going to go to the creation triangle. And it may be a little bit triggering, just to be honest and forthcoming. And it doesn't have to be. I'm going to use illustrations that are intended to be, they're wedge topics, and that's the whole point, right? I'm going to demonstrate some things that were coming up to my mind. This is all inspired from a conversation that I had with my oldest son last night. We were talking about a show called Revolution. It is like a 2-season show, and basically the creation triangle really plays a part in this. There were two opposing sides, right? We'll just call them what they are in the show: the Monroe Republic, and then Georgia, and then a third factor came in later, which is the Patriots, right? And the Patriots are what reconciled kind of the conflict between the Monroe Republic and Georgia. Those will make sense if you've seen the show. Anyway, just the point is that there were three different points, right? There were two opposing sides and then a third resolving factor. Now the thing is that the third resolving factor was a controlled kind of a thing. So what I'm going to demonstrate is a couple of things. One is how when we stay in control of our meaning, right? When we are the master of meaning, we're the gatekeepers of what meaning we give our experiences, right? Okay, so just bear with me as I step through this. When we're the gatekeepers, we get to control the meaning, and then therefore we have a huge influence over what it is that we create. So that's one thing that it'll demonstrate. Another thing is demonstrating how fear is used as a tool. And then another thing to demonstrate is that this particular process is used in a macro and micro type of scale, meaning it's used on the world stage, right? Geopolitically. And then it's also used in a very micro scale, familially, meaning within a family unit. So I'll demonstrate that here. So as we go through this, if you'd like, go ahead and just grab a piece of paper and a pen and think of any wedge topic. Think of any wedge topic that you have an emotional charge around. Pick any of them, just any of them. And immediately you'll be able to see like a for and against, right? A pro and a con. So a wedge topic would be something like, say, gun control, right? You've got people that are pro, you've got people that are against, and there's obviously this relationship. So the thing is that in that scenario, we'll just use that as an example. So the people that are pro are going to have a certain feeling and a certain mindset and a certain set of beliefs, right? Now, did they consciously choose those? That's always the question. Are they being the masters of their meaning? Are they being the gatekeeper? It's questionable. Same thing on the other side, though. Okay, you've got the people that are against guns. Okay, did they choose their meanings, right? Both sides are going to have data. Both sides are going to have supportive evidence, right? They're all going to have a way to kind of support their beliefs. Now, the thing is did they consciously choose that, right? Did they consciously choose that? And if they didn't, if they're not conscious about what they're making things mean, that means that those beliefs or the weight that they're giving that particular topic was introduced, meaning that it was controlled or heavily influenced by an external thing, right? And where does most of that data come from? You know, it's either going to be something that has been passed down generationally, it's going to be something that it's been experienced or indoctrinated, or, you know, it's just going to be something that's promoted. So if these individuals are not consciously on either side masters of the meaning, then the people that introduced those meanings or those beliefs to that individual, right, the ones that have planted the seed, are the gardeners. They're the gardeners of those beliefs, even though, like, the things that have been passed down or indoctrinated. And so therefore, if they're the gardener, then they also are able to, the gardener is able to basically dictate the way things grow. And so, say a wedge topic, say that, you know, you want to go somewhere on the spectrum of more gun control, right? Like, or maybe pro-gun control. We'll just go more pro-gun control. Then there could be how do we want to say, there are such things as agent provocateurs, right? There are things such as events that precipitate a certain response, right? One way, I don't necessarily want to use gun control as a particular topic. Let's go more for, let's see here. Sorry, I have some things written down. So let's just go for, this is a lot better. Yeah, this is always more fluid in my head than what I'm actually presenting. So let's go for something like, the other thing that came up for me is, we'll just say money. Money is a topic, right? And there's certain entities that have control of the money, right? A country has a treasury, okay? But then there's also central banks. Now, if the governments stay in control of their treasury, like an individual would be the master of their own meaning. So in this particular example, we'll shift it over to money. So if the government of a country maintains control of its currency, which means that the treasury is running it, then a central bank can't dictate anything about the monetary system of that country. Now, if the central bank would like to influence that, then they would look for a way to create a circumstance in which the flow of energy or the attention or the desire for a central bank would increase, and the desire for a treasury would decrease. And if you read The Creature of Jekyll Isle on this particular example, you'll see that this was actually done where there was a group of individuals that decided that a central bank would be a benefit to them. And so they set about creating circumstances that precipitated that influenced what people experienced, and then therefore how that played out. You can see that too, like with Nikola Tesla and his inventions, and the whole debate between AC and DC electricity. So it's about, if you're in control of the point, like if the Treasury is able to remain in control, then the central bank can't complete the triangle, right? You'll have, the central bank has its relationship as its own self, and then it has a relationship to money. So there's 2 points out of the triangle, but the Treasury is like, they have a relationship which is to the government, to the people, and also to money. So if the central bank can't take out, more or less, or influence and the Treasury, then it can't complete the creation triangle. Let me put it a little bit more smaller scale. I think this one might be easier for me to illustrate. So in a familial, like that's kind of on a more macro scale. You can see, and I'll try to explain it better on like a larger kind of wedge topic type of thing. So in a small scale, my youngest son showed me, he likes to show me funny TikToks. And so there's this woman who posts TikToks about being a parent, right? And how parenting can be difficult. And so just today he showed me a TikTok of hers, and she was like, I lie to my kids. Or she lies to her kid. She's got a daughter. She's like, I lie to my daughter. She's like, I don't like to lie. She's like, I used to judge people that would lie to their kids. She's like, I lie to my kid multiple times a day. So here's the wedge topic, right? We'll pick bedtime. You've got the parent, okay, on one point. You've got the parent who's like pro bedtime. Then you've got the kid who's like anti bedtime. Okay, so now you've got the 2 points, right? The wedge topic here is bedtime. So what this woman does is she's like, if you don't go to bed at a specific time, then, the like the boogeyman comes out or something like that. Basically using fear to instill a desired behavior, right? And because the child is not able to be the master of their own meaning, because the child has given the parent the authority, they have now abdicated that to the parent. So now the parent has the position, this woman has the position to be able to influence her child towards a desired outcome. And I'm guilty of that. You know what I mean? So another way to do that, like brushing teeth, right? This woman gave like a few examples. She's like, I tell my daughter that if she doesn't brush her teeth, the tooth trolls will grow in her mouth, and that kind of a thing. Another fear-based type of initiation. And again, because the child isn't being the master of their own meaning. And I'm not blaming the child, they don't have a certain capacity for these things, but it is that particular thing where that leverage is being used, that knowing that the child is unable to be the master of their own meaning, then the parent is then leveraging that to create a specific outcome, even though it's a wedge topic, right? Okay, I want you to the parent's like, I want you to brush your teeth. Child's like, no. Parent's like, okay, well, then I will create a circumstance in your mind that will precipitate you to go towards a certain action. And this is done, like you can start to see that what I'm talking about there. That's much easier. I probably should have led with that. Extrapolate that out. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about as far as us as individuals being, as we're adults, as we mature in age. And this is what I think is honestly criminal, is that we're not taught this along our life path. We're not taught that, hey, being the master of your own meaning and like understanding the criticality of this puts us, I believe, in a very compromised position as a species, and definitely as pick any nationality, as Americans, as Canadians, it doesn't matter. Any type of ism, patriotism, like nationalism, it doesn't matter. Any type of like indoctrinated thought that isn't consciously decided by the individual is something that's been given to them by somebody else. And whoever that person is, or those people are in a position to be able to leverage that belief to their own particular outcome. And just like the parent is to the child. And so I just wanted it was just really coming up for me to communicate that. And it's exactly, to me, it's a great way to illustrate the creation triangle. And it's honestly why I'm so big on personal sovereignty and being the master of my meaning. And I just believe that for everyone, right? To me, it's like a birthright. We all have this. We all have the right to be the master of our own meaning. And now there's responsibility in that too, and accountability. which is our other topics, yet you can, for me anyway, this really illustrates the importance of that responsibility and why I choose to work on it that way. And part of the reason I go through with what I go through to challenge the beliefs that I've been given, because otherwise I'm leveraged. I could be easily leveraged out of experiences that I could have. I could totally have, and that without the if the child like in the video, right, this woman's like, you know what? She's like, I love the ice cream truck. She's like, I hear the ice cream truck. I go grab as much change as I can. I hunt that thing down and I get ice cream. It might be freezer burned. I don't care. I love it. And she's like, I'm out here making this video, eating my ice cream in the backyard so my daughter doesn't see me because it's before dinner and she doesn't get to, I've told her that she doesn't get to have a popsicle before dinner, but I'm an adult, so I do. And it's just kind of like, because she's got that authority, right, over herself, that agency over herself, then she's able to make that choice, right? She's able to be conscious about that. And if the child understood, right, that they have their own agency, and this is what being a teenager is about, right? In part, if the child knew that, Mom, you're full of shit. There's no trolls that are going to grow in my mouth. I'm not brushing my teeth. Like, then at what point, then there's like, that stops that triangle that the parent was trying to create, right? That circumstance or that outcome that the parent was trying to create, that stops that because the child was displaying their own agency. Now, if any of you are parents that are watching this, you can maybe start to be like, okay, well, if that's the case, then how do you escalate that? How do you kind of trump that, so to speak, or and like no political tie-in with that. Just how do you overcome that resistance, right? How do you overcome that agency? And this is where, we have, like on a grander scale, where wars come in, right through might, and things like that. That's where we get the type of, at least the older style type of parenting, right? Like, oh, you might get the belt or the wooden spoon or who knows what else, but other types of fear or violence or threats. So these are the tools that are used to employ to create the outcomes. It's the leverage, and that's why, again, the primary reason why I do what I do, because the things that I'm fucking scared of, then I can experience other things that are scary. As long as I know how to manage fear within myself, then anything that's outside of me that might inspire fear or any other emotional trigger, then I am in I'm in a way better spot to be within my own authority, within my own agency, and not allowing something else to dictate the outcome for me or to move me towards a specific outcome. I'm by no means perfect at this. It's just illustrative of how it works, and also why I believe it's extremely important, not just for myself, but it's a birthright. It's a birthright for us to know our own agency, I believe. Otherwise, we're very open and very compromised. And this goes into something that came from the, Beginner's Guide to Constructing the Universe. Any surprise there? Is that the resolution to any problem, that it talks about, requires a third factor. And choosing that third factor is the difference between perpetuating the problem or its resolution. And I have to ask, given the wedge topics that we experience as a society and as a species that we have yet to overcome, who benefits from the perpetuation of these wedge topics? There's a reason they're perpetuated. There's a reason, and It's just the same. It's the same way with parenting, right? We learn a certain model. I've learned a certain model, and there is a reason that it was used, because it had an effect. It had desired outcomes, and because it has desired outcomes, it gets perpetuated without necessarily so much consideration of like either its consequences, or is there a better way to achieve a similar or maybe even better outcome, you know, which would require consciousness and intention to question that and then to explore that. It takes some effort. And again, I can't necessarily fault us or fault myself or fault anybody, because we're bags of water and electromagnetic beings. So yeah, path of least resistance. It's just, as I illustrate these things, or as they're illustrated to me and I communicate them, like, these are not my ideas, you know what I mean? Like, it's here. It's just something that I feel that is important to communicate, you know? And, you know, to give you another idea, kind of on a more macro scale, this one would have been better to go with. So like, say, you know, there's things like, how do I want to say? We'll just say like the Civil War, right? To engage or not engage. So we have like, how was it? And there's a great video on YouTube that's probably almost 12, or it's kind of old. It's about a think tank, and there's a guy where he lists off like certain, and they could be called false flag events, but like these scenarios that needed to be instigated so that certain outcomes could be reached. So we'll take like Fort Sumner in the Civil War, and I'm not a Civil War buff or anything, and I could easily be recounting this incorrectly. If I recall properly, Lincoln gave the order to perform an act that is exactly what was said would cause a certain reaction from the South, I believe. And it was used to instigate a specific outcome, or to move towards a specific outcome or path, to engage or disengage, you know, to either be involved or not involved. But regardless, I think the parenting thing is something that we can all pretty much relate to. But you can see that these things, and at least I believe we can see these things extrapolated out onto a larger scale, and how they play out. And this is the stuff that, in my mind, is just really, to like bring it back to like AI and other stuff like this. This is what really resonates in my mind and causes, I don't necessarily want to say a disturbance, but it's the biggest question. It's this type of unconsciousness that I'm like, I don't know how we would remove that from the very thing that we're creating when it's still inherently like a part of us right now. It's part of the human condition right now. And so I just have a hard time believing or seeing how what we create will not have that. And so in my mind, the best way forward with a relationship to AI or a conscious intelligence or another species, take AI out of it, if it was aliens, like whatever, like, we would have, the best outcomes would come through a conscious awareness, and not just from a few, like not just from like a few people, like as a species, you know, like as a human species. This is how we understand the importance of this and what it means. And then therefore, as a species, we create together, all of us, towards, you know, like, I don't know. It's kind of like another one of the wedge topics that I thought was kind of like, you could say order or disorder, right? Order or chaos. And it's kind of like, okay, we have our relationship to life. Okay, we have the elements, we have Mother Nature, we have, we need to have food, water, and shelter, right? As a species, we all agree with that. Okay, so what we've done then, as like using that as the topic, we have decided that order is pretty good for us, right? And so how do we create that order? Well, then we come together and we create laws. There's always an opposing side though, right? There's always we could either have no laws and have chaos and anarchy, or we can have some laws and have order and civilization and society. So there's always this ebb and flow, or this opposing side, and then it's just kind of like you could brush your teeth or not brush your teeth, and it's like how just understanding the power of the influence and the trajectory of that creation. It's kind of like, well, what laws get passed and who do they serve? Like who gets to influence that, right? And so understanding, like, to me, it's the creation triangle, the power of creation. Like to me, that's just kind of how it literally unfolds. And again, to me, it's supported by the mathematics, the geometry. It's literally geometry. So I've been going on for a minute, and I'm not entirely sure I was able to communicate the things that I was looking to in a way that, like I said, when I'm thinking about it and I'm just kind of going on, in a way this all comes out better like in my audio journals when I'm just talking to myself and I'm not like on the screen and I'm just kind of riffing. So when I look to try to prepare material and then like put it out there, it's a little bit more, I feel a little bit more disjointed and not quite as fluid. So I want to thank you for entertaining me and being here with me, and hopefully following along and that I was able to communicate at least something that was of interest or somewhat illuminating. All right. That's pretty much what I got for right now. I have been, on a completely different topic, I have been working on data for the numbers and everything and the dates. Today I spent quite a bit of time going through like old emails. Like I exported my LinkedIn stuff, and it's interesting to see the articles that I posted on what dates, and like I'm getting stuff compiled, okay, so I can walk through and kind of illustrate some stuff with that as well. So I know I've been saying that. It's a work in progress. It's a lot of touch points and a lot of different kind of data locations, right? Like emails, LinkedIn, Facebook messages, text messages, all of this kind of thing, right? And this is, I totally, I've been cataloging my life for a long time, actually. Like when I journaled for 3 years straight every day, and I may see those journals in the moment right now are inaccessible. I don't know. I'm tempted to see if I could retrieve those, just because they would hold a lot of information that would be cool for this type of analysis. So anyway, I'm just mentioning that because I know I've been talking about bringing that together and talking about that too. So, all right. Thank you again for being here. Thanks for journeying with me. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time and the space, and thank you for our relationship. All right. I will say that that conversation I had last night with my son was way more than just this particular topic, and it was a very, very great relationship. I mean, yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time relating, and there were some very powerful moments for me, just energetically, as I was observing myself and my son as we were talking, and just some awareness about how I may be perceived by others, that I think is going to really help me kind of grow into this next phase, or this next part of my growth. So it was really cool. And my son, I don't think, was aware of what he was communicating. And it wasn't even verbally. It wasn't verbally at all. It was just body language and energy. And there wasn't anything, it wasn't like conflicting or anything like that. It was just kind of something I was picking up where I'm like, oh, I might be viewed this way. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually very empowering. And I was like, oh. And then so today I was just kind of reflecting on how I have kept myself small because I haven't seen myself in the way that I was picking up from my oldest son last night. And so I'm very grateful for that because, like I said, it's a very empowering energy and perspective. And so I'm grateful for that, 100%. And honored, yes. So, all right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.